Let's go Dolphins! What if I told you that the Miami Dolphins are seriously considering a coaching candidate who could completely ruin the momentum the team has been building over the past few years? What if the man gaining traction behind the scenes is someone the fans of his current team can't wait to get rid of? What if, in the midst of all this, the most exciting and dynamic names are slipping through our fingers? That's exactly what's happening right now in the corridors of the Dolphins front office. Before I reveal everything I've heard, be sure to like this post only if you're a die-hard Dolphins fan with blood in your veins. And I want to know your opinion too. Leave a comment below saying, "Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds aqua and orange." Let's shake up the comments section and show the front office that we're watching every move. Now, let me tell you what really happens behind closed doors. Breaking news has shaken the NFL structure. John Harbaugh, considered by many to be the best possible name to lead the Dolphins, is out of the game. He will be the new coach of the New York Giants. This not only eliminated an option for Miami, but also completely changed the NFL landscape, as teams like Tennessee and Atlanta also had their eyes on Harbaugh. With new coaching positions opening up this offseason, representing almost 30% of the league, the competition for the best names is fierce. Let's be honest, coldly analyzing the situation, the Miami position is far from the most attractive in the NFL. In a realistic ranking, it's in 6th place, behind Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Tennessee. But let's get to the point. With Harbaugh out, there are now 10 candidates who have received official interview requests from the Dolphins. And among these names, one stood out: qualities, Joe Brady. The current offensive coordinator of the Bills was included on the interview list practically at the last minute. And well, the reality wasn't the best. Brady is young, 36 years old, a native of Pembroke Pines, Florida, and has already shown as offensive coordinator for the legendary LSU team in 2019, which had Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. But his recent NFL history raises many doubts, to say the least. Brady previously served as offensive coordinator for the Panthers and quarterbacks coach for the Bills. When he embraced play calling, the result was a freefall. His offense in Carolina was mediocre, finishing among the league's worst in 2 consecutive years. And even now, with one of the NFL's best QBs, Josh Allen, his play calling decisions remain questionable. Predictable plays, screen calls on 3rd and 10 situations, and decisions that take the ball away from his best player. In the last postseason, for example, he called a screen call for Amari Cooper on a 3rd and 10, something that sparked outrage even among Bills fans. Brady's name is so disliked that, among all those interviewed, he is considered the worst candidate. Some even preferred Patrick Graham, and that would be cause for total outrage among fans. But it's not all criticism. 2 names have excited the fans: Jesse Minter and Robert Saleh. Both were interviewed by Miami via Zoom and are considered absolute priorities by the front office. Minter, former defensive coordinator at Michigan, is seen as a defensive genius compared to Mike Mcdaniel, the current Seahawks coach. Saleh, even with recent experience with the Jets, is considered someone who could flourish in a second chance as head coach. In fact, for many analysts, Saleh is the best name available today. And here's an interesting detail: Miami has already completed 5 formal interviews, only one of them in person, with Kevin Stefanski. Furthermore, due to NFL regulations, all were virtual. And now comes the hottest name on Miami's radar: Jeff Hafley. Former coach at Boston College and current defensive coordinator for the Packers, Hafley is considered the favorite behind the scenes. His connection with the Dolphins' new GM, John Eric Sullivan, both from Green Bay, is strong. The idea of importing the Packers' model of tempo building, focused on defense and offensive and defensive lines, is gaining traction within the franchise. Even though Hafley isn't the most sexy name on this list, he's being considered by 6 of the 8 franchises still looking for a head coach. This shows that his value goes beyond his connection to Sullivan. He's truly seen as a promising coach. Interestingly, Chris Shula, grandson of Don Shula, appears 3rd in internal preference. And there's speculation as to whether this has more to do with his last name than with his recent work. Other names like Clint Kubiak also generate enthusiasm. In the end, fans are divided between hoping to see a strong name like Jesse Minter or Saleh taking over, and the realization that the final decision rests with someone like Joe Brady. But let's talk about the cherry on top: John Eric Sullivan. The Dolphins' new general manager spoke publicly for the first time, and his words ignited the hearts of the fans. Speaking with confidence and clarity, Sullivan promised to build a physical, resilient, and talented team capable of winning in any situation. He said he intends to implement a proven successful process that aims to transform the Dolphins into the new standard of excellence in the NFL. After years of hearing vague speeches, it was like a breath of fresh air to hear someone so determined at the helm of the project. And here we go. Let's dive right back in because the tension is building, and the Miami Dolphins are getting closer to making one of the most pivotal decisions in franchise history. If the goal is truly to bring a Lombardi trophy back to South Beach, and everything we've heard from John Eric Sullivan suggests it is, then this head coaching hire cannot be a miss. There's simply no margin for error. Let's talk about Jeff Hafley again. because while he may not be the flashy name that gets everyone jumping off their couches, he's clearly emerging as the frontrunner. Every prediction market, every sportsbook, and nearly every insider points to Halfley as the likely hire. But here's the dilemma. Does being the safe pick make him the right pick? Sullivan, coming from the Packers model, seems intent on building through the trenches and a physical defense, two things Halfley emphasizes. But here's the kicker. Is that really what this roster is built for? Let's not forget, Miami has one of the fastest, most explosive offenses in the NFL when healthy. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle. You've got Tua Tagovailoa, who's still polarizing, but undeniably efficient when schemed correctly. So what happens when you bring in a defensive head coach with no track record of developing young QBs or maximizing explosive weapons? It's a real concern. And again, it brings up why guys like Jesse Minter and Robert Saleh carry so much weight in these discussions. Minter is one of the most intriguing candidates in this cycle. His work at Michigan, especially leading that defense to a national championship, shows he understands how to build physical, disciplined units. He's modern, he's sharp, he's calculated. And let's be honest, the Dolphins have needed that kind of defensive presence since the Brian Flores era ended. Minter brings the same cerebral approach Flores did, but without the off-field drama. The question is, does he have enough NFL experience to lead a locker room full of veterans? That's the risk. Then there's Robert Saleh. Say what you want about his time with the Jets. That franchise has been a dumpster fire for years. But Saleh had that defense playing with heart. He's a leader of men. And in Miami, with a stronger foundation and front office, there's a real belief he could flourish in a second stint. It's not uncommon. Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Mike Shanahan, all guys who struggled in their first job and then found success later. Saleh could be that guy for Miami. And then, of course, there's Chris Shula. Now, look, the legacy of the Shula name in Miami is sacred. But let's not get blinded by nostalgia. This needs to be about who is best suited to win now. That said, Chris Shula is no joke. He's earned his stripes in the league, particularly in Denver, and his understanding of defensive schematics is respected. But again, is that name recognition influencing the internal ranking more than it should? Possibly. It's also worth noting that Kevin Stefanski, the only candidate interviewed in person so far, hasn't been completely ruled out. He's got experience, he's available, and by meeting with the ownership face to face, he's already made a strong impression. But he also comes with baggage, especially questions about his ability to manage locker room dynamics and elevate quarterbacks. Miami can't afford to regress in offensive creativity. That's non-negotiable. And then, hovering like a dark cloud over this entire process, is the name that refuses to go away, Joe Brady. Despite everything pointing to him being the worst fit imaginable, the Dolphins still requested an interview. And let's be blunt, that terrifies fans. If this front office goes in that direction, it would send a message that they're either completely ignoring film or blindly chasing past hype. Brady's LSU year was lightning in a bottle. Since then, nothing but regression. If he's even considered for this job, it's malpractice. Plain and simple. So where does this leave us? On one hand, you've got the Dolphins trying to reshape their identity, tougher, more physical, with a defense-first mindset, likely led by someone like Halfley or Minter. On the other hand, you've got the soul of this team, the speed, the flair, the offensive fireworks, which demand a head coach who won't smother that in favor of a grinded-out 17-14 game plan. And don't forget about the fans. This is a fan base that's been starving for consistency, for relevance, for postseason success that doesn't end in heartbreak. They want someone they can believe in, someone who gives them hope on Sundays and credibility across the league. Jeff Halfley may check the boxes in terms of process and system, but Jesse Minter brings innovation. Robert Saleh brings leadership. Chris Shula brings legacy. And Joe Brady? He brings panic. So now I ask you again, who do you believe should be the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins? Drop your answer in the comments and make your voice heard. And hey, if you're still watching, you must be a real one. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out the video on your screen right now for more Insider Dolphins content. Go Dolphins, and let's bring a Super Bowl to South Florida.